the person, the orc that keeps them in check. But I painted 10 of these little Gretchin up yesterday, and I put them, I painted them with Watt Flush, and then I washed them off camera with Bealtan Green. So you can see, especially like on their back, you can see where there's like shade and where there's not shade. So now that they have been base coated and washed, I really want to paint them with a layer paint. So this is Warboss Green, and I'm gonna paint on a little bit. So I don't actually remember the last time I had this paint in my collection. I don't remember the last time I actually used it, so I'm gonna give it a good shake. All right, that looks pretty good. And I have a small layer brush. Yesterday I used a base brush, which is a little big. So let me grab a little bit of this. And I'm going to make a little point. And I've got this guy here. So I'm going to paint in all of the recesses. So I'm going to paint on his nose, but leave a little bit that connects to the rest of his face shaded. All right, and let's do some of the cheeks. This is a little watery. Let's do this part of the cheeks. And I'm trying to leave a little bit of all the dark green in the recesses here. So I'm getting his lips and the chin, but in that space between the chin and, or the lips and the chin, I'm leaving a little bit of that dark green showing. A little bit of his face. And it looks like I missed a little bit of the ears when I was first painting them, but I can fix that with this little highlight, or layer I should say. I'm going to try to leave, so in this, in his left ear, come on, focus. So in his left ear, you can see where there's like a little, oh, there's my webcam, there's my shorts, awesome. Let's try this again. You can see this is pretty precarious. I'm just experimenting with a setup, and it's basically just hanging. All right, so you can see there's a little shade right there. So I'm just going to get the lower part of the ear and leave a little bit of the shadow, the very top part of the ear where it connects with the rest. And I will get the very, very top. So that way there's a nice, I like that shading. All right, let's get a little more. I'm just going to throw my models around, why not? These are kind of tiny models. So, all right, so this should be easier, the big muscles, than the tiny facial features. All right, so I'm just going to grab the top of his tricep, I guess that is. All right, then I'll leave the spot in between the oh boy, I think actually this is the tricep. It's the muscle on the back of your arm, whatever that's called. So even though it's hard to focus, I wonder if I need like a different, yeah, I wonder if I need like a different background here, because I think there's too many things in this background and the camera doesn't know what to focus on. If you have any thoughts, let me know. Okay, so that's looking fine. Let's get his actual bicep. Ha, I know one muscle. Boy, this layer is coming on a little bit thicker than I think I would like. I wonder how it'll look when I'm like done painting it, because sometimes it looks a little bit less harsh when you're done. I'm wondering if I'm just laying it on too thick. It's just a little it's just a little bit too sharp of a contrast for me. Like you can see the The shadow, I think the shadow is just a little bit too much for me. Huh. Let me, so I could water my paints down, so less of it sort of, so a little bit of the original paint sticks through. I don't know if that's going to help though. All right, let me just keep going because this is what this is the paint scheme I found online that I like. So I'm just going to give it a go. So we get all the fingers. I'll get this little bit of muscle there. Get the top of his hand and thumb, and this side of the fingers. I'm accidentally getting his nails, but I'll do the nails later. Get his thigh. Wow, these grots are so tiny, the thigh is like 2 brush strokes. If you hear something walking around, it's not like a monster. We're watching a dog this weekend. He's excited and sniffing all the like little cracks and crevices to try to find crumbs or whatever. All right, so I'll get his shoulder blade, and then I'll get this little muscle here, and I'll leave some of the. Come on, focus camera. There we go. So you can see I'm leaving some of the darker green showing. And let's see. All right, get that there. There's a little shade here, so I'll try to leave that. Oh boy, I'm getting everywhere with my green. This is not very clean at all. All right, let me do his. Boy, I wish I could get the camera closer so I don't have to like hold the model way up here. Let me get his hand. Brush across all the fingers. Drop my model again. These little guys are so tiny. And I just have to get his bicep now. Okay. Okay. So there's a few more little spots I'm gonna get. So like right here, there we go. So I missed a little bit on the shoulder blade. I can get a little more there. So there we can see some little grot muscles, which is kind of adorable. They are still a little harsh for me, but I think maybe when the paint dries, it won't be as noticeable. Like on the face already, I can tell that some of this paint is drying, and it's not nearly as the contrast doesn't seem as stark. I don't know why that is. I'm not a paint wizard. Oh, I did miss the back of his ear here. A little bit on his hand. So I think that's fine. So I have this little Gretchin guy here. And the muscles are a little stark, but it's not terrible. I think when you're looking at this on the table, you're just going to see, you're just going to see a little bit of the contrast, and then I am going to further highlight just a little bit of some of the muscles with a Skarsnik green later, probably in a future stream. But This is okay, and it's also pretty easy if I just have to paint some of the muscles and then paint a little highlight on the muscles after I'm done. Huh. Yeah, I think I'm still trying to decide if this is what I want. Again, I think the face turned out really nice. Um, like the contrast is there, but it's not harsh. Whereas the contrast on this muscle right here is just you can just tell it's just a really harsh contrast. And I don't know if I globbed it on or what I did wrong there. All right, well, I'm going to paint one more just to see if I can fix whatever I did wrong the first time. So we'll get this cool guy. I really like this model. This is the guy with the, I think I was painting him yesterday. It's the guy with a little bandana across his mouth. So he looks like a, I don't know, like a, I was going to say a cowboy. He's got a little bandana, which I'm going to paint red, I think. And he's got that awesome giant gun that's bigger than his body. All right, so let me start on, okay, hold on. I'm going to water this down a little bit more than it was before. That might help. And we're going to start at the top of the shoulder blade and work our way down. All right, so there's 2 shoulder blades and a little bit of the back muscle. Again, this is looking harsh, but I think by the time it dries in a few minutes, this will actually look pretty good. Okay, there's the tricep, bicep. Someone needs to learn muscles again. I don't know what class that was in high school, but apparently I did not do very well in it. So let's get a little more of this. Okay, moving on to the forearm. Da 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 da. We'll connect these two right there. All right, so here's another bit of the muscle, and then there's, yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but then right here there's another little shade, a little shadow, so I'll just skip right over that and paint the next muscle. God, these grots are insanely muscular for being like 2 inches tall. Not the model's 2 inches tall, like in the fluff, they're just tiny. All right, look at the fingers. Fingers are always really easy. I just brush right across them from top to bottom. As long as you do it lightly, you should be fine. I think part of the so I can see the harshness again, where it's just like very obvious muscles, and I think it's because I'm leaving really big areas of dark green. I think if I had fewer areas of, or like less, so if I paint a little bit further in, especially if I do this very thin paints, so I'm actually have very little paint on my brush right now, so as I paint this, it's not like covering 100%, just covering a little bit. All right, so there's a little more there. A little more there. Oh boy, you can't see anything. You being the viewer. So I got a little messy right there, which is my mistake. But that's actually looking like, just looking at the arm, that looks a little less harsh. Whereas when you look at the back, you can see how clearly defined those muscles are. Right, so I think let me try this a little bit more on the back. A little bit of paint, water it down, make sure it's not too watery. All right, let me start on the bottom here. I'm always worried when I start with like a new load of paint that I've either put too much water, too much paint, or something. So I always like to start on like a less visible area, like lower back midriff, whatever part of that body is called. All right, so let's paint a little more here. So these are his like lower back muscles, and that looks like it goes up to his spine. So I think this is working good. Let me move on to a little bit of his arm. This is actually maybe a touch too watery. Or maybe it's just right and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, this side of the arm. A little more paint. I'm not sure if it helps to, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm not sure if it helps to have all this stuff in the background. I think I already mentioned that. Actually, let me move this off screen so it's like one less thing for the camera to focus on. But I'm just not sure if it helps. Like, it's kind of cool. You can see me like digging in the paint pot, that type of thing. But if it makes it hard to focus on everything, I don't think that me digging in the paint pot is worth that. All right. So I'm getting like the inside of his hand here, and the inside of his forearm, and touching up the outside, and oh boy. Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to decide what I like about this and what I don't. Again, it just seems like such a harsh contrast. I think there's a couple, like I can make this. Maybe a harsh contrast is going to look good on the tabletop, right? Like maybe you need a harsh contrast, and when you're looking at it right now, it's like awkward. But when you look at it on the table, it just looks good. This still feels a little harsh to me. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going with this paint scheme since I saw some other people use a paint scheme just like this and it looked good. So I think I'm going to keep going with this paint scheme, and even though it looks a little harsh to me right now, I'm going to keep going, and maybe it's just my first unit of Gretchin has slightly more muscular bodies or something. I think I could spend forever trying to figure out the perfect paint scheme and never find it, so I'm just going to go with what I have and my best guess. Touching up on his forearm, touching up here. All right, let's move on to all right, so there's the ear. We'll leave a little shadow in the ear. All right, let's go on to the top of his head, which should be all green, and the nose should be basically all green except for the underside. And where it connects to the face, there should be a little shadow. And let's get the side of his head. I'm going to leave some shadow in the eye sockets. There's some wrinkles in his face that I'm going to leave. Okay. Top of the ear. Lower part of the ear, side of the face. Oh boy. This one I maybe should have thinned down a little more. That's fine. So there's some like forehead creases, which I'll try to leave some shade in, but I want to get all the raised areas, like his cheekbones. I'm not sure I'm going to paint the eyes on the Gretchin. So like on orcs, their eye sockets are like so deep, and their eyeballs are so tiny. I don't think it's worth it. And if I'm not going to do it on the orcs, I don't know if I want to do it on the Gretchin. I do tend to paint eyes. All right, so let's just do some touch-up stuff here. You know what? Just trying to decide. I can see like so you can see this like little. There's like a little black area right in the shoulder. It's like a little bit of a shadow, and I think I want to make that a little smaller. I can understand how like your skin would like form that. It just seems a little awkward. Cool. No, that's Gretchin number 2. I think I'm liking the skin. I do think, and here's number 1 again. I think I'm liking the skin. It's certainly not perfect, but this is like a good start. And these are Gretchin. Like I specifically purchased Gretchin so that if I don't like the way the skin's turning out, ooh, actually, you know what? So you see how like, okay, so come on, focus on the little models. Come on, camera. These are the only things that exist. Nothing else exists, Mr. Camera. There we go. So, do you see, like, on the guy on the right, like, those muscle lines look so much more sharp to me than the guy on the left. So actually, even though it doesn't look like I made much of a change, I think it's just how big the darker lines are. So actually, I'm going to very quickly go back to this and just fill in a little bit more of these dark lines. Oh, cool. I'm so glad I did a second model and made some adjustments. Pro tip, make adjustments when the plan does not work. I don't know if anyone else is a Flash fan. It's kind of it's one of the shows I watch, and Leonard Snart, who's actually one of Flash's villains at one point. He's like a master thief type guy. I think he says, make the plan, execute the plan, like the plan will fail or change, and throw out the plan, come up with a new plan. And I like that that's his like motto, is that the plan will change. All right. This is the last one right here. It's a little stark. So I think I filled in some of these areas a little bit. I got a little bit closer to the dark line, and I think that helps. And actually looking at these guys on the tabletop, you know, I'm trying to show you what it looks like for, you know, looking kind of at them from far away. Like I think they actually look pretty decent. Like you can see that there's muscles. It'll look great when there's other colors other than just green on them, of course. But I think this is a great start. So that's me painting some Gretchin Part 2. I'm going to keep going with these guys. I'm going to try to stream again next week. I don't know what type of streaming schedule I want to do yet. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going at it and working on these guys. Thanks, everyone.